What's up, friends and Flipper family? Welcome back to another episode of MissFlips. In today's episode, we are making over this long-awaited baby right here. She's beautiful, she's gorgeous, she's a little dirty, and definitely needs a lot of love, but we're gonna give it to her. So let's get flippin', right? I think we should. Yeah. Alright guys, so prepare yourself. Oh god, this piece is so disgustingly dirty. Oh god, I'm getting shivers just thinking about it. It has webs, it has dead bugs, it has droppings, it has dust, it has nests. Oh god. Ugh. Sorry. Anyways, we are saving this piece because it is so worth saving, and other people might have thrown it in the trash just because of the shape that it was in, but I saw so much potential. I mean, how could you not? This piece is stunning, and it deserves every ounce of love that we are about to give it. So we are starting this process off by, of course, cleaning, and the first step in that is going to be our vacuum. And this is just to get all of the dust and debris off and all of the cobwebs and all that good stuff, just so we can have a dust-free surface to really scrub into. Oh god, and here comes the point that just gave me shivers. Oh man, seeing that fall off and come off of this. Oh man, I'm not usually squeamish. Like I'm pretty good about these things, but doing that was probably the most terrifying thing I have done in quite some time. I'm definitely, like, I'm pro bug, I love spiders, I love snakes, like, I love all those things, but dealing with nests? No thank you. I will not ever be doing that again, hopefully. But in true MissFlips nature, we pulled up our big girl pants and we journeyed on. Since this piece was such a mess, I knew that there was bound to be some grossness under the piece, so I went in there and vacuumed everything out and then got to scrubbing the entire bottom while I was just down there because it really needed a good scrubbing. So I went in there with some dish soap and just went to town. To clean off all the soap, I went in with a water and vinegar solution and soaked my cloth in there and went and wiped everything up and made sure to do a couple passes in and out of the pot, wringing out all of the dirt and soap, and then re-rinsing everything. And while I was down here, I went ahead and removed the old feet because metal feet I find just are really dangerous for wooden floors, and I don't know, I just don't like them. They make an ugly sound too when you try to slide them. So I'm replacing them with these plastic ones right here, and these ones slide super easy and aren't abrasive at all. For the back of the piece, I am doing the exact same thing, giving it a quick vacuum and a quick scrub down with some dish soap. Before cleaning the rest of the piece, I went in and made sure to take off all of the hardware, and then I went in with some vinegar and water solution, and the reason why I'm using this instead of the dish soap like I used on the back and the bottom is because I know that this veneer is very thin and very fragile, and for whatever reason, I just feel way better putting vinegar and water onto veneer rather than putting dish soap and I just feel like the dish soap soaks in, or whatever you put into the wood or onto the wood soaks into it, and I just didn't want dish soap to be in the veneer. So yeah, I'm opting for the vinegar and water. Since the piece was already soaked, I decided to go ahead and just hose it down, because why not? And this way I can be sure that all of the soap and vinegar and all of the dirt and grime that came off just gets completely washed away. And before I let it dry for the night, I went ahead and dried it off with a dry cloth and made sure that there was no standing water in any place, because the last thing you want to do is have standing water on your furniture. So I made sure that it was as dry as possible and then set it out with the drawers and everything else and a fan going on, as well as an open window, because I knew that with a wet piece of furniture it would build up humidity really quickly. And just as a reference, here is the water that I was working with. This is why we clean, folks. To remove the old finish, I at first started to go in with a scraper. I don't know why I decided to do this, but I did, and here we are. So I decided to use the scraper on parts of the piece that I knew were real wood, so like this mantle here, and then also parts of the door and the details. However, I did think that the scraper was going to be too invasive on the veneer, so I went ahead and sanded the veneer and just left the scraping to the details like this right here. For the veneer, I am going in there with a 180 grit, and I knew that this stuff was going to come up really easily just because of the condition that I found it in. It was really worn, so I knew that I wanted to go in with a higher grit. That way I wouldn't, damage the veneer or accidentally burn through it, or work harder than I really had to, because when you start at a lower grit, you have to incorporate more grits in between the grit that you start with and the grit that you end with. And sometimes this is necessary. Of course, sometimes you do have to start with a lower grit in order to get the results that you want. But for this piece specifically, I knew that the finish was in pretty bad shape anyways and would just come up pretty easily even with a 180 grit. So I decided to go with that, and instead of going from one veneer to another, to another, to another, to another, blah, 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 I could just go from one grit to another to another. Easy peasy. For the drawers, unfortunately, I felt that one of the drawers was kind of beyond saving. The veneer was just popping up and there was holes all throughout it. And I knew that I could make the repairs and make them look alright, but I could never make them perfect like the way that I wanted them to look. And since this is the face of the piece, it would be different if it was like on the side or something different, but like it was, you know, right there, right on the face. So I decided to take off the veneer and luckily uncovered more tiger oak. This thing is literally solid tiger oak, which made this experience so much more pleasant to do because honestly it broke my heart to take this off. But yeah, it was a nice surprise. So the first drawer turned out to be a lot easier than this second one. I ended up having to put it back into the piece so that I could have it stationary while I took this off, and I ended up switching from my putty knife to a chisel, which I highly recommend doing if you have stubborn veneer. And the heat gun, it was helping lift the glue a little bit, but honestly it was still really difficult and definitely took some time. So if you're running into this problem, be patient, I promise it'll pass, and then once you do it, you'll be so happy you did, and underneath will be a beautiful, nice, pretty wood. So now that everything was sanded, it was time to get it nice and clean so that I could go in and stain it. Now for the look of this piece, my partner and I usually go for a more eclectic slash apothecary slash rustic. So I opted in to go with early American stain. We opted for this color simply because of the depth that it brings. I really enjoy walnut, however I don't like the redness that walnut brings, and I find that early American gives that depth without bringing the red. After applying a nice coat of the stain, I went in there to remove the excess and kind of spread it around to stain the rest of the piece. A lint-free cloth is better for this, however you gotta work with what you got, and paper towels were what I had on hand, so we're doing that. For the exterior, we were looking to keep it really nice and warm, woodsy, natural, but I thought that the interior could be a fun way to add some eclectic elements. So I'm going in with some paint from Good Bones Paint. I love this paint company. They're amazing. Chalk paint, their color selection is wonderful, and the coverage is spot on. And we're just going into the interior and adding a pop of color that I think will really look amazing in our space. So my partner and I always really liked this piece that I did here, which if you haven't seen this transformation, make sure to check this video out after you watch this. But I ended up using that piece for a lot of inspiration for this piece and applied the same kind of techniques using leaf patterns and circles and kind of just let my creativity flow and not really going for anything too specific. Originally, I had planned on leaving the inside of these doors natural wood. However, as you can see, I did mark it up a little bit on accident with some stain, so I'm just going in there and creating a cute little border with the stain as well, just to give it a little bit of variety and hide those blemishes that I made with the stain. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know no MissFlips piece is complete without some gold accents, so I went in there and added some. With the natural wood behind it, the gold honestly doesn't show all that much, but I love the look that it gives when it hits the light just right. It just gives a nice shimmery glow around the shapes, which, ugh, I love. For the finish, I originally wanted to go in with just a polyurethane satin finish, nothing too crazy, nothing fancy. I just wanted something durable that would last and give me a really nice finish for a very long time. But this ended up not going according to plan. So I don't know how, but after I sprayed the top coat on, it like seeped out all of the stain or like faded the stain or something, because this thing is way lighter than it was when I first put the stain on it, and I didn't anticipate that. It's never happened to me before, so if you guys know what happened, what could have possibly happened, that would be awesome. Meanwhile, I'm gonna try to fix it somehow. Wish me luck. So just as a reference, this is what it looked like when I was going to spray top coat on it, and this is what it looks like now. I got some sort of natural bleaching effect, which I wasn't really going for, and it left this weird mark on the top. I have no idea how it did that, but that's not the look that we're going for. So I went in and applied another coat of stain without even removing the finish. The stain just went on really nicely on top, and yeah, that seemed to work fine and fix the problem. Hopefully it'll last and not fade with time. I hope I didn't make a grave mistake. But as that dried, I went in and removed the green felt from this drawer here, and honestly, this was probably my biggest mistake. If you ever have green felt that you are like, oh yeah, this comes off super easily, don't remove it without soaking it in hot water first, because then you'll be stuck doing hours and hours and hours of scraping like me. Just leave the felt on, that way the fabric can soak in the water and actually soak the glue that it's stuck there with. Felt is usually stuck on with hide glue, which is super easily reversible. All you gotta do is use hot water and it becomes tacky again. So yeah, just don't do what I do and do what I recommend, which is just leave the felt in. I cannot stress this enough because this was so tedious. But after everything was finally up, I went in there with my detail sander and got all of the residue that was left in the drawers. But also make sure to let the drawer dry before you do this step. Just side note. Alright guys, this video is coming to an end, but before I show you guys the results, I just wanted to give you guys a quick reminder of what this piece looked like when I first found it. It was in rough shape, guys, but this just goes to show every piece deserves love, every piece has potential, and every piece deserves to be saved from the landfill. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and this process. It was a whole whirlwind for me, but it was worth every second. And if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and do all those things so we can stay a happy flippin' family. And until next time, guys, stay flippin'.